It's time once again for the Maple Grove City Report. I'm Dave Kaiser. Thanks for joining us, along with Heidi Nelson, Maple Grove City Administrator. Welcome again to the program.
Thank you.
We join you here as we're taping this in later November, just before Thanksgiving, so I have a lot to talk about. Some events coming up in the city. Also a rather long council meeting that just occurred to talk about, so we'll touch on that, and also some other community items related to transportation that you might want to hear. Let's start, Heidi, with the council meeting that happened on the 21st, and the long item of the meeting had to do with youth sports. So give us a little background of how this came to be and how it led up to this report at the council meeting.
Sure. So the City of Maple Grove has a Citizens Advisory Committee. It's made up of right about 20 members from the community that over the years have been tasked to look into different projects or issues facing the city. A few of them of note, the gymnasium at the middle school project, the dome project, the second sheet of ice. They work on the community survey every year. So they work on a variety of projects on behalf of the city. About 2 years ago, they started working on a project to kind of look into our youth sports organizations in town. And so over probably an 18-month period, year to 18 months, they met with all of the youth sports organizations in town. And so the report that came forward to the City Council last evening was a kind of a summary of what they learned from the sports associations, and then some recommendations for the City Council and the Park Board to consider.
And that number of organizations, I would imagine, probably surprised some people.
Yeah.
There are many, many groups in the city of Maple Grove.
There are. We have a lot of youth sports associations that serve the city for a variety of activities. The city has kind of a very collaborative relationship with each of these organizations. Many of them have partnered on facility projects. The Dome is a partnered project, the gyms, the second sheet of ice. The Baseball Association just did some improvements to the Weaver Lake ball fields. So there's a lot of interaction between the city and these associations. In fact, members from our Park and Recreation staff meet with them regularly to talk about their scheduling and any issues they're facing at the facilities and fields and whatnot.
So at the meeting there were representatives from the CAC that spoke, but also many people from these associations that got up and said a little bit about their groups as well. Is that correct?
Yeah. So the CAC had some recommendations. Some of them, just to give a few highlights, talked about how frequently background checks are done on coaches and the folks in the organizations that are interacting with kids, and then what are the code of conduct policies that they have, and then how does that work with the organizations. And I should note that on these facilities that I speak of, a lot of them are also done in conjunction with the school district. The school district's been a big partner in that as well. So there were some recommendations about how the city might help facilitate some of those discussions between the school district, the organization, and the city for facility needs. So
the council received it, and at this point then the next step might be to go to another commission, planning commission potentially, or someone else to take a look at it?
Yeah, I think the Park Board will probably take a look at some of this. This kind of falls under their purview with the Park and Recreation staff. I think a lot of the recommendations that were made are well noted. We all want to make sure that the coaches that are interacting with youth are going through the proper process to do that. We want to make sure that Maple Grove is well represented at our facilities, so the conduct of the folks that are there, whether it's the parents or the coaches, we want to make sure that those things are attended to as well. So I think the Park Board will be taking a look at that and seeing if they want to strengthen anything in those areas. Many of our associations already have those programs in place. They're not all absolutely consistent across the board because they're all independent organizations, and I think the council felt like if there's something we can do to add value, worth talking about. I think the youth associations, those that spoke last night, appreciated the work that was done, but they also, are interested in the city sort of taking a hands-off approach a bit to their business, and letting them function, and they, they're doing a good job of it. So.
Very good. One final point on this. Some people might have seen some media reports about this ahead of time, and you just wanted to make a quick comment about that.
Yeah. So a news story, and it was even before the council had just received the report. We had sent that to them a bit early. It was a 20-page report, so we wanted to give them some time to read through that. And then we had gotten a request from a local media organization, Channel 5, they wanted the report, and then they were interested in doing a story about it. Unfortunately, the news story sort of got ahead of the discussion and somewhat misrepresented, I think, the intent of the report and the recommendations, and got people a little bit nervous and upset about what the work, what the report said. And I think we were able to kind of diffuse that by, allowing some time for, the council needs to take the time to consider this report and discuss it. And until that time, there really, there wasn't anything that was going to be moving forward, but we just needed to allow that time. And unfortunately, I think the news story got a little ahead of things.
Okay, very good. All right. And again, more information will be coming about that certainly in the future. Let's move ahead in the council meeting. Community development items. We've talked about the village at Arbor Lakes a few times, and things continue to move ahead there. Give us the latest.
Yeah, so work on the site is progressing on the south side, on the commercial side. They're constructing some of the private streets in there and utilities. And then the buildings, they've gotten some of the footings and foundations in, and they'll be working on those over the winter months. This particular action dealt with the north side, the residential side there. And again, this is kind of the fourth corner of Arbor Lake, so it's that northeast corner there at Hemlock and Elm Creek Boulevard. The north side, so the residential, couple changes of note. For the first building, it reduced the unit count by about 5 units, but it also reduced the size of the clubhouse. They had come back to us after their initial approvals and said, we need to reduce the size of that clubhouse. We just are struggling from a financial feasibility perspective. And if you'll recall, the city had done an arrangement with them that we would have some use of that gym space, and then we had negotiated something on the park dedication fees for that use. So with the reduction of the size of the clubhouse, removing basically the gymnasium piece, that deal on the park dedication fees kind of went away. So they made a few minor changes to the exterior, the architecture of the building, and then the unit count, but then reducing that clubhouse kind of changed. So now they'll just be paying the straightforward park dedication fees. So yeah, that got approved last evening.
Keep your eye on that corner. A lot certainly will be happening there. Moving ahead to a couple other reports from staff people. One was Ken Ashfield, and Ken always loved to talk transportation and 610s. So give us the latest here as we're taping this again in mid-November, still in the holding pattern, but things are moving ahead, so tell us what's new.
Yeah, so we're not going to meet the before Thanksgiving deadline to get the road open, but it looks like we're still have the intent to get it open the week after Thanksgiving. When the weather turned, it turned fast. So even though throughout all of November we had the benefit of the warmer weather, now it's turned quite cold, and so now they're kind of dealing with winter conditions. Their intent is still to get it open, and so they're going to change courses a bit and finish up some of those kind of shouldering paving areas that we need to get done. They'll be doing that with more of a bituminous type product then, or asphalt, versus trying to do that in concrete, and then they'll have to come back in the spring and replace some of that. But it will hopefully allow us to get the road open next week.
Very good.
Another meeting with MnDOT this morning to go over that. Ken was at. So I think everybody's wanting to get that opened here for the winter, and I think folks will be patient in the spring if they have to do some lane restrictions to get some of that done, but at least having the road open for the winter would be nice. So that's what we're still working towards.
And again, that will be open all the way to 94, and the flyover's open as well, because I know there had been some talk of potentially just going up to Maple Grove Parkway and maybe getting it there as one step, but this would be the whole way.
Yeah, the intent at this point would be the whole way.
Good.
So as long as we can get those shoulder pieces plugged in. It's starting to snow this afternoon right now, so we'll see what happens here. It doesn't sound like we're going to get too much here in the metro area tonight, but hopefully they can keep plugging away over the weekend and early next week, and the intent is to get it open next week.
All right, let's hope so.
Yes.
Let's talk election turnout. We have been talking election the last time we were here, and before that as well, as far as some of the turnout numbers and some of the absentee numbers. You've got some more stats for us here, so tell us what you've learned.
Yeah, so we again had great voter turnout here in Maple Grove, 85.92%, with 39,719 total voters casting ballots. Over 10,000 of those were cast absentee prior to the election.
And your expectation of that was how many? Did you have a number that you expected for the absentee ahead?
Yeah, probably half of that, I would bet, is kind of what we thought based on, granted, the no excuse absentee went into place at the last gubernatorial, but this was sort of the first time it was a presidential, and then it was the 1 week prior you could just feed your ballot into the counter. So a couple more changes this year that we knew would probably drive up the numbers, but I think there was just so much talk in the media about how crazy election day was going to be, because they were anticipating super high voter turnout because of all the, just the the interest in the election this year.
Sure.
And so, yeah, we had a tremendously high absentee voter turnout. And I think when we talked last, which was just right after the election, I think what people experienced was they waited a lot longer at City Hall to absentee vote
Right.
than they would have at their precinct.
The opposite happened of what people expected.
Yeah, so 85.92% here in Maple Grove. In the state of Minnesota, 74%, still high. Minnesota always has a history of very high voter turnout.
Right.
But across the country, only 57%, which, you know, is kind of
we
a
were
shockingly...
puzzled when we talked before the show.
Number right?
Yeah.
Could that possibly be right?
Yeah.
And yeah, surprisingly, even with all the interest in this year's election. So, but Minnesota did their job, and certainly the residents of Maple Grove did as well. So we really appreciate everybody who came out to vote.
And one final thank you as well to the staff. And you mentioned that at the council meeting, a lot of people did a lot of hard work and spent some extra hours working with this election. Yeah,
our full-time staff puts in a lot of extra hours to make the election happen. We hire about 500 election judges to make election day happen, and then the time up to that. So very important work that they do, and we appreciate that. The election really went off without a hitch this year, and we had a lot of changes at the polls too with the e-poll books, and so to kind of get all of that in place and then deal with the absentee up to the election, we just really want to thank everybody who made that happen.
Wonderful job.
Yep.
One final item from the council meeting, just another note that was passed along. If you've been following us talking about the comprehensive plan, I understand that's coming back. That is December 5th, correct?
Yeah, so we'll start. We took off last evening, kind of give everybody a break during the holiday week here leading into Thanksgiving, but December 5th we'll be meeting again on the comp plan. Our focus is going to shift now to the 610 area. So heretofore we've kind of been focusing on the gravel mining area.
Right.
And so now we're going to shift up to the northwest quadrant and kind of take a look at the land use up there. So should be some interesting discussions.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
All right, let's move ahead to some other things happening around the city then. One was, just for your reminder, 494 ribbon cutting. That did happen, so some very positive transportation news. Any recap of that or feedback you've heard? Are people smiling now when they drive down that road? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and I've heard that it's just pretty much wide open. You know, it just feels like there's a lot more capacity, and particularly as if you're inbound on 94, as you come through the Fish Lake split to head on to southbound 494, you know, having that additional lane there where people aren't trying to merge together, boy, does that help. And I think will clearly reduce accidents out there, just having that additional capacity. So yeah, I think everybody's very happy. And that one actually opened ahead of schedule from what they thought it was going to be. So yeah, a good celebration on November 16th to mark that day.
As we're taping this again, Thanksgiving coming up, and just a quick notice, if people are watching this early, offices are going to be closed for a few days. Yeah,
we'll be closed Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, and Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. Back with you on Monday.
Okay. How about for Christmas, New Year's? Do you have that plan figured out yet?
Well,
thinking ahead here?
Yeah, we do actually. You know, Christmas Eve falls on a Saturday this year. So we will be open through the 23rd, that Friday. We'll be open that day and there. And then with Christmas Day falling on Sunday, we'll be closed the Monday, the 26th. And then, again, back over the holiday, January 1 falls on a Sunday, so we'll be closed that Monday, January 2, which then pops the council meeting to Tuesday, January 3rd.
All right, there you go. Hope you got all that down on your calendars there. A couple other things to mention here. We've got a craft show coming up quickly again for those watching us early, and it's all about Thanksgiving. That happens 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., and that is at the community center. Is that a community-sponsored event or outside organization? Do you know what type of group that is that's having that show?
You know, the notes here say that the community center is hosting that craft show, so that must be a community center activity. I claim I don't know a whole lot about the event, but yeah, this Saturday, November 26th from 9 to 3 at the community center after Thanksgiving shopping.
All right, well, Black Friday, Saturday, get out and do that type of shopping. Let's talk fire hydrants. You've mentioned the snow a couple times, and as it comes, a few friendly reminders for the residents of Maple Grove. What should we do?
Well, our fire department is asking that residents adopt a hydrant, which means keeping a 5-foot radius clear around the hydrant. It really just helps the fire department a lot when they show up to a scene and they're looking for a hydrant in the street, and if it's already shoveled, they don't have to get the shovels out and waste that time. That might be kind of precious time getting water tapped to the hoses. So if you live near a fire hydrant and you know have some discussion in your neighborhood about who's going to take the turn with the hydrant this week, or somebody's going to adopt it for the whole season, that effort's really appreciated.
Very good.
Yep.
All right, back to fall just a little bit. Yard waste site closing a couple days here, so tell us about that site and how busy it has been.
Yeah, so the site is open through the end of November, weather permitting. It's free service for all of Maple Grove residents, but they need to bring their ID with them. Hours Monday through Saturday 8 to 7, and then Sunday 11 to 7. They'll be closed on Thanksgiving Day, but open again on Friday. So through the end of November, weather permitting, I think if we end up with a little bit more snow here, that yard cleanup season is kind of over.
Might be the end of it here, but the new access to the site has worked very well also.
Yeah, I think it has. Even at the kind of the peak, those November weekends when it was so nice, I think it functioned pretty well there. We have a little bit more queuing area on the entrance lines where people can get in line. And then we did do some coning in the intersection of the Parkway. So I think it did work pretty well this fall.
All right, here's some hot off the press news.
Yeah.
And people have been asking, the skating loop. The latest news is open when?
This Friday at 10 a.m. So the day after Thanksgiving. This rain today, earlier today, wasn't helping us. Talked to Chuck this morning.
Sure.
And he was a little worried about how much rain we were going to get, but I think if things get a little colder here today, I think we're still on track to make that Friday deadline. So just as a reminder, free to go skate at the skating loop. We do offer skate rentals, so you can rent skates there, and then there is a concession stand. They have hot chocolate and all kinds of treats available, and then the Pheno Pavilion there is just a lovely space to gather in, some fireplaces, that kind of thing. It's really a neat experience, and they've got the twinkle lights and the music and all those things going on. So it's a popular place.
Yeah, something tells me it will be very, very busy.
Yes.
From that busy spot to a busy spot inside Farmers Market, there's still opportunities to get the inside version. When is the next, and what might we see there?
Yeah, so the next market is Thursday, December 1st. So seasonal produce available, still some apples, squash, carrots, potatoes, beets, onions, and then some lettuce as well. And then they have specialty items for holiday, kind of around the holidays and gift giving, that kind of thing. They have live music, free recipes, and then again, they carry through the shopper reward programs that they have during the summer months as well.
And great time to check out just what's happening in the community center as well.
Yeah.
Always a lot going on there. Another way to check out what's going on there and throughout the city is the winter newsletter, and that is coming out soon and covers a lot of the information we cover here. So if we go too fast sometimes, you can just hold it in front of you there. But tell us about that timing, when's that come out, maybe some things to look for in that publication. Yeah,
so the winter newsletter will be coming out here, online viewing. I think it's available now, but then the printed edition will be mailed to all homes and businesses within the next week. So
okay, so
folks should see
later
that in their
part of
mailbox.
November, first part of December will be there.
Yep.
All right, so be looking for that. A lot of great information about the city and things going on.
Yeah.
Mistletoe and Memories, a great annual event. Tell us a little bit more about that for coming up this year.
So you'll start to see the print guide out and about, and that highlights the Maple Grove holiday events now, kind of really starting at the Thanksgiving holiday all the way through New Year's. Includes special offers and coupons from some of the businesses in towns. The copies are available at the community center, the library, and then certainly at some of our businesses around town. And then the online version is available on the city website for viewing as well.
All right, so some fun to be had during the holiday season in town. Another fun event for the holiday season is the community tree lighting. And if you drive by the government center, you notice this nice tree there on the corner, and that's the spot, right?
Yep.
Tell us about the event.
So Saturday, December 3rd at 5:30 p.m., Santa lights the tree at the government center, that corner that you kind of right across the street from Three Squares and Dunn Brothers there. The northwest corner of Main Street and Barber Lakes Parkway. Part of that Main Street event that day from 3 to 7. The day includes carriage rides, music, Santa and Mrs. Claus, treats. A lot of the businesses have specials going on that day. So, but the tree lighting right at 5:30 p.m. that afternoon.
Excellent. All right, we're going to hop ahead. We'll cover budget in just one more minute in case you love budget talk. So stay with us here. But the Angel of Hope, another great community event. And this is an annual event that happens at the Arboretum. Tell us a little bit more about that event and that site.
Yeah, so the Angel of Hope, the annual Candlelight Memorial takes place on Tuesday, December 6th. It's always on December 6th, whatever day that falls on. And that's at 7 p.m. at the Arboretum there, right off of Fernbrook, just south of the high school in the park there. Candles are provided and guests are invited to bring a white flower to place at the base of the statue. It's kind of a brief ceremony, but really a nice, touching event. I have had the opportunity to tour up there a couple of times this fall, and there's a lot of the paver stones up there that are in memory of a child that was lost, has passed away, and so has a lot of special meaning for a lot of families, and I know a lot of those families come back every year to honor that time. And so we invite the community to come out. I think they get quite a crowd there, but it is kind of a brief ceremony, outdoors of course, but December 6th at 7 p.m.
All right, one other holiday item to pass along, and Heidi's come with shopping ideas for you today. So tell us about the shopping at the community center. This is a pretty unique idea.
Yeah, so available in any denomination at the customer service desk. We have gift cards, and they can use them for the recreation fitness opportunities at the pools, indoor playground, and skating. All of those things can be, the gift cards can be redeemed to get into those activities.
All right, so think about that as a way to give a gift this year. All right, back to it. Budget talk. This may be one of the last times we talk about the budget this year, and I bet you're very happy about that. And
until
ready
at least
to move
April.
that away. Yeah, exactly, until it starts
Then we
over
start
again.
talking about it again.
So what happens in December with the budget?
Yeah, so December 5th, our next council meeting will be kind of our truth and taxation hearing. It's sort of the final review of the budget. Last time we were together, we had talked about that the council had a workshop to talk about some decisions that need to be made on positions that would be added for the 2017 budget year. So the budget will come back on December 5th. We'll review that in total with the council. That adopts the final levy, and it adopts the final budget for 2017 and kind of sets forth our operating program for the year ahead.
All right, then you and all the folks dealing with finance get to rest for a couple months and then back at it.
Yeah,
Right.
Yep. Budget cycles, process starts again in the spring.
Yeah,
so
it's hard
there's
to
only
believe.
a brief reprieve, and during that time they're doing audit. So
Exactly right, so the fun always is
there's
going
no
on.
end to the financial calendar.
All right, Heidi, thank you very much for the information.
Thank you.
Let's leave you with some information in case you want to find out more about some of the things we touched on. MapleGroveMN.gov is the website to the city. Lots of great information there. Also Facebook, great way to find out more things that are coming up on a real quick basis, including that skating loop to make sure what the weather is doing out there. Next meeting is Monday, December 5th, 7:30 at the Government Center. 494-6000, the phone number to the Government Center, and 533-1710, the response line. If you have questions or comments for the program, we will certainly take those here. Heidi, thanks again for your time. For Heidi Nelson, I'm Dave Kaiser. Thanks for joining us on the Maple Grove City Report.